backwards the whole way. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is the Creative Writing Alumni reading. We have 4 wonderful guest artists tonight. They were in class today speaking with our students, and it was such a fun time reminiscing, and I think our students had a really fun time asking questions, and there's cheering in the back and thumbs up already, so it was just a really great time. It's wonderful to see all these people. I am so excited to hear them read tonight. I've taught 3 of them. I haven't taught the 4th one. Sammy, who will read last, so I'm really excited to hear her work. I just wanted to say that this is a unique experience for me and for our department. Former students sometimes come back and they say hello and we talk to them and it's really nice, but we don't necessarily get to hear them read, or we don't get to sort of see their professional side, their artistic side again. And I'm thrilled to be able to do that. And it was just so nice to also hear about your lives today in front of the students. It's again, that's different than how we might interact individually if students come back to visit. So I was sort of struck by how rare it is, and it made me want to do more of it, to see more former students, because it's such a pleasure seeing you all. And I'm excited to hear you read tonight. Okay, so without I've turned it off. Is it back on? Yes. There's a button here. Careful of the button. Okay, without further ado. Our first reader tonight is Nellie Hildebrandt. She is a writer from Columbia, South Carolina. She teaches writing and literature at UNC Greensboro, where she earned her MFA in creative writing and worked as fiction editor for the Greensboro Review. Her work was nominated for a Pushcart Prize in 2017 and can be found in Apartment, APT, and Story South. And a major memory of Nellie, for me, beyond the one she brought up in class today, which I won't mention again, is that Nellie wrote a really good story senior year about a yurt. And that yurt was really, really cool in that story and really good, and I'm sad we won't hear it tonight because I think we'll hear something else. But everyone, Nellie Hildebrandt.
For that introduction. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. It would be so funny if this was also about a yurt, but it's not. This is a story called Night Vision, and it is about some middle school aged girls. And yeah, I think that's all the introduction that you need. In the dark corner of the computer lab, Meg dreams she is a Neanderthal. She is both inside of him and apart, halfway her and halfway the diorama she's producing for 8th grade social studies. In the dream, it is night and she's wading through a salt marsh. She can see the herbs and grasses perfectly because Neanderthals have large, beautiful eyes that work well in low light. She leaves footprints in the peat. She hums an ancient tune. Behind her, ancient stars fill the sky, and a child is speaking ancient syllables and pretending to be a fiddler crab, swinging their one larger claw and grazing the water. The 2 of them are suddenly quiet. Something is following them. Meg wakes, still tasting brine on her tongue. A message has appeared on the screen. Please come to my party. It's Angelica. She sits on the other side of the computer lab, where the light bulb isn't broken, where she doesn't sit shadowed. Angelica is a little weird, a hair chewer, and a hand kisser. The thing that Meg likes about her is that she smells like a newborn baby. She's all milk and bread and sweet hospital scent when she stands close. Maybe no one else can smell it. Maybe it is proof of Meg's bond to Angelica. You don't have to worry, Meg types. I was always planning on it. She wants to do something else tonight, wants to shirk the responsibility of an appearance. Each key she presses sounds like the husk of an insect falling off. She has outgrown Angelica, she thinks. Their schoolmates don't love Angelica, but the boys in computer lab do, because she tells them anything they want to know. They seem to think of her less as a middle school girl and more as a sleeper agent. They ask, where should you kiss a girl? What do girls keep in their purses, and is it a secret? Would a girl commit a crime? Angelica makes up her own answers. The fingertip, the first gift your parents gave you, a talisman. No, never. Angelica is inviting them all to her party. They have promised to bring other friends that are girls. She lures them with the chance of meeting her pretty older sister, a sophomore who only Meg knows is never home. Meg closes the messenger window and a pasture materializes, the default desktop background. Pastures are sterile. She wants the screen to show a big forest at night. She wants the screen to show some humans haunting each other, and some crouching under the moon, and some sweeping the rough hair back from each other's eyes. After the agricultural revolution, Meg has often thought, life became too stagnant. Last year, Angelica's party was all glitter. She dropped packets of it onto her carpet, forming little tidal pools, a flickering ecosystem of pink and silver that scattered under the ceiling fan. Angelica did not apologize when it got in Meg's eyes or fell from Meg's shoes for the next several months. The other girls were mad. They complained while Angelica was in the bathroom counting to 300. Angelica was immature. Angelica had not grown up like the rest of them already had. This birthday, Angelica radiates a nervous aura that unsettles everything she touches. Meg sits on the floor and watches her rearrange the dining room chairs. She masks an eyelid in purple shimmer, the other in pink. She clips the chewed, uneven strands out of her eyes. A few spiraling streamers form half moons above the doorways. When the boys from computer lab and a few of their schoolmates come inside, they stand around the table, rocking the backs of the chairs, and Angelica carries out her own cake, trembling a little when she sets it down. It's a black and white dome. A sharp 13 is spelled out in serif, sloping down the sides. Angelica hunches over her cake slice as the others talk. She eats in a hurry. Why don't we all tell a secret, she says. She drops her fork on her plate. I would like to know more secrets. The others don't hear her, or if they do, they carry on talking. Meg leans over to talk to Angelica. I'll tell you a secret, Meg says. She feels bad seeing Angelica nervous. Let me just think. Angelica stares at the lump of presents across the room while she waits, lifeless. Last year at your birthday party, Meg says, I told you and the girls that I liked Grayson, but I really liked Oliver, his younger brother. It just felt weird to have a crush on someone in 6th when I was in 7th. Oh, I get it, Angelica says, but she's already onto something else, trying to listen to what the boys are talking about, twirling a birthday candle between 2 fingers, the blue wax pills on her skin. Angelica's mother asks if she would like to open the presents. She is suddenly trying to conduct the night as though Angelica is still in elementary school. Angelica glares and her mother disappears. I want to play a game first, she says. Follow me upstairs. Their socks slip around on the hardwood. At the top, she pulls a chain and the attic stairs spring open. She's the first to go up. The guests wait for some kind of signal that Angelica has not evaporated into the black hole of the ceiling. When a light bulb flickers on, they ascend. The attic is unfinished, exposed insulation and plywood floor threatening splinters, a few boxes pushed up to the angle formed by the ceiling and the floor. We need to play it in the dark, Angelica says. Her eyes widen to absorb their approval. When no one objects, she crouches by the square of light where the stairs fold down. She calls her mother to come shut the attic door. This game might be too mature, Angelica warns. I learned it from my sister's friends. The attic is a little hot and small, and with them all crowded together, a humidity forms. The boys look at each other in what seems like a mixture of dread and excitement. They speculate that this is an excuse for Angelica to get her first kiss, which Meg knows she already had in 4th grade, when a boy from another school kissed her on a magnolia branch. Angelica clears her throat, still a little shaky. She pushes a box, crawls up to the ceiling, and unscrews the light bulb. Suddenly, it's pitch black. The boys hush. They can hear her drop onto all 4s. This game is called The Conjuring, she says from somewhere below them. She crawls further away, a head start. You'll run for me, and I'll try to hear you breathe. Angelica scrapes her nails along the floor. She rasps undecipherable syllables. They scatter. One boy shoves against the folded stairs, but they don't open, and one boy's laugh recedes into the dark until it is halted by another's hand clapped over it. Meg squeezes between a stack of cardboard boxes and the arched beams. She can hear Angelica crawling nearby, her hair dragging against the cardboard, and an animal, maybe a squirrel, leaping on the outside of the roof. Her hands instinctively shield the space in front of her face, forming a net to catch the danger. "You're not scaring me," Meg whispers. Meg feels Angelica bend herself up to the full height, smells her wet newborn breath when it caresses her cheek. Angelica's tongue laps around the inside of her mouth. She gurgles like a small brook as it lurches over a rotted branch. "Scare me more," Meg says. It's exciting to finally ask for what she wants. Angelica gnashes at the space beside Meg's ear. She pounds her fist against the beam. Meg realizes she is no longer imagining her friend as a girl with jagged bangs and one warped tooth and a love of secrets. Instead, Meg feels like she is pleading with a primal being, an ancient longing to make someone's breath catch. Thank you.
Thank you, Nellie. Oh, there she is. Our next writer is Aidan Forster. And a memory I have of Aidan is, there are a couple, but the one that immediately comes to mind is that when he would answer a question about a story in class, it was a dissertation that was like so elegantly put that I'd be like, okay, I guess we're done for the day. Aidan Forster is a writer, teacher, and editor from Greenville, South Carolina. A 2018 graduate of SCGSA Creative Writing Program, he received a BA in Literary Arts and Public Health from Brown University in 2022. His work appears in the Adroit Journal, Columbia Poetry Review, Copper Nickel, Indiana Review, The Rumpus, Tin House, and Washington Square Review, among others. And his chapbook, Exit Pastoral, was published by Yes Yes Books in 2019. He currently works as a specialty patient innovation analyst, didn't know that existed, for CBS Health, and teaches at SC our summer programs. So everyone, Aidan Forster.
Thank you. I'll try not to be so dissertation-y tonight, I suppose. So I'm going to be reading 3 poems from my senior thesis that I wrote at Brown. It had religious themes. It was based off the work of this British saint, but I wrote a kind of micro series of poems in the thesis that were about angels, biblical angels. So each poem is titled after an angel, and there's a little epigraph at the beginning that kind of explains, like, the tea about the angel. The first one is entitled Angel Interlude Azazel, and the epigraph says, Azazel taught men the art of warfare, of making swords, knives, shields, and coats of mail, and taught women the art of deception by ornamenting the body, dyeing the hair, and painting the face and the eyebrows, and revealed to the people the secrets of witchcraft, leading them into wickedness and impurity. When I entered him, an acolyte to entering, my thurible jittering into topaz imbalance, wholly unfamiliar with the metaphysics, he sighed. A Hercules beetle alit on the windowsill, etching his breaths with a scout knife. He held one eye open, as if setting a boutique wristwatch with the force of the other's closure, or gentling a bone into pluff mud, making a fossil of the side, which has split into a great glittery shroud, on which I expected to find the face of a minor saint. Patron of aortic tear, maybe, or lightly fried pickles, or showers between people who nearly crashed a Honda Civic into a Publix deli mid-afternoon, not even drunk, but tugging at the big pink knot of the world, promised nacre, getting weevil husks in film capsules, charms to nowhere. What I felt then, I would feel again. Eating pizza on a farm manned entirely by children, tripping on driftwood and reeling into the lucent pit of a caiman's midnight grog, crying when I remembered the crying face of the boy in the movie who could have been me, or more likely, who I could have been, wounded, but so glorious in his pith, made fundamentally for pain, that the exact coordinates of any given elsewhere shifted incorrigibly left and then right, not necessarily toward or away from me, tusking this man who would soon be arrested for giving alcohol to other boys 16 and as darling, or close to darling, as me, but differently poised to receive me, preparing to prepare a gilded cushion on which queer meant nothing but morning star, but gleam and what gleam promised. Already I had forgotten the pill, delirium pebble dousing the pockets of my inner comforts, the little yoke that turned us into a we. As in, yes, we pulled on the saturnine rope holding the lower part of the world, and suddenly we could see the angel's ankles. The second poem is entitled Angel Interlude Dominations, and it's about this period of like weird chronic illness I had, which I'm fine now, so, but was not then. And the epigraph reads, "The dominations regulate the duties of lower angels. It is only with extreme rarity that the angelic lords make themselves physically known to humans. That grace might live rarely among the garbage of my little insufferable life, I could fathom only when 2 possums ghosted onto the porch and stole my grandmother's gallon of spiked eggnog. Twinned smithereen musketeers, drunk and stumbling in the early southern snow. Imagine the bungalow where they rested after escaping Nina's silver church spoon. Their bastard furred tails cocked into a crude caduceus, alcohol dribbling marmoreal and slow from the treasured glut of their cells, pigmenting the morning with slow release wonder. 2 creatures seized by the sudden desire for the possum equivalent of a single luxurious pastry, whose name refers to a kind of glove. Imagine survival. Its country skirt snagging on the phlebotomist's needle, my blood muling tersely into little vials, waiting for bald men to determine its precise vitamin D saturation. Next, in a nearly astrological litany of measurements, failing to describe the precise and inhuman tremble of pain's planet, a little to the left of my belly button. Beneath the quadrant of skin I touched only alone, as women touched their yearning bellies when pregnant, cupping our twilit bulbs of skin, wanting entirely different things for what we might find there, for some transverse property of physics to usher hurt out of the world, beauty in, or vice versa, to draw closer to beauty, further from hurt. Imagine a baby's throat, the gastroenterologist said, my hospital gown shrugging nearly onto the floor, green acid flickering the stomach spout as a will-o'-the-wisp tarnishes a manuscript's edge. That's what your throat looks like. Returning to consciousness in a Wendy's parking lot, my body's imperfect reed shook into gracelessness. Where did I end, and where did ailment begin? Half of a small Sapporo brought me to my knees. Blue Cliff Bar wrappers dominated the foreground of photos destined for dating profiles, my girlish thumb spinning weakly their wheels of weight, shedding and gaining spiritual tonnage as a trapper sells and acquires and sells mustelid pelts on a sliding scale of low light brilliance. Kneeling before looking-glass falls, mist coating my ribs in abominable chill, my mother's fear that I might bump my elbow on a knob of wood and vanish in a queerly embodied retelling of Flat Stanley, dude violently in my clavicle's violence against the day. My first lover in over a year hefted me with one hand over his shoulder. His blonde rind of lordship, bruising my hips' pear dip, and I hated the feeling of a man lying across me. The mammalian click of form against form, my stomach writhing as if pinned to a hot velvet board. Another lover lowered his entire skull into my lap, and I cradled it in my hands, rebuffing its trickles of weight, afraid it might tear a hole in me as cold masses stretch the fabric of heaven, opening little portholes through which beasts of cosmic travesty freely tumble. Imps chained to hounds of lemon starlight, a meteorite in the shape of an alto saxophone, blue-skinned jugglers stealing from their audience a bone, the final trick's key. I couldn't stop thinking about the camera, its cold eye Argus strong but singular, what flaws it might have found if loosed in me, drifting unerringly through my plasmid meat as if bound to the telling of even a single cell's twitch, disrepair and empire mapping itself from scalp to right pinky. But God provided for the penitent, his animal miracles of sufficiency stunning me into silence. Ill birds completed the spree steps of mating dances. The remnant of a ram's horns were adequate glaives of showmanship. Even an anesthetized owl maintained its center of gravity. Could I delve, as dominations delve, into the brackish gold of dailiness, sifting remonstrance from the stuff of majesty, sipping the burning from the bush with a geranium straw, and shaping this flame into a putty, and shaping this putty into a new body, I would not hesitate. I would step into the blaze. I would thieve myself joyful. And the last poem is entitled Angel Interlude Metatron, and the epigraph reads, Metatron was previously the biblical Enoch, who, upon his ascension to heaven, was transformed into an archangel and given the name Metatron. He was then bestowed the position of chief of the archangels and told the secrets of creation. My first summer, alone and untended, living in the apartment whose one impossibly rhomboid window opened neither inward nor outward, but seemingly along a sly internal axis, I devised daily miracles of thirdness. What could be more glamorous than a new and dearly beloved object replacing its prior, less vociferously loved counterpart? I wanted to know, carving flamingo keys to the shaded green door hidden between something and something like something someone could love, if only for a season. The jar of banana peppers shattered on the historical duplex's lawn again and again, but I only ran once, thinking myself a girl in an imaginary video for Lana Del Rey's This Is What Makes Us Girls, strawberry ribbon foaming my coarse hair. In the background of every photo I took, a vagrant katydid dreamed of the sea in which thousands of children disappeared in a crusade spuriously recognized as such, and I fretted over creases in my Aqua Dazzle cream to powder eyeshadow. People left places they once considered beautiful for places they might consider beautiful, namely Newport and its vestal plinth of ocean and fried lobster food trucks, and I counted myself among these places, mostly hypothetical, but truly kneeling in the black beaded corner of the leather bar, awaiting benediction as sick children in the Bible yearned for Christ's healing touch, only to discover, in the span of an instant, already filled with his speech, they've always already been healed. I played a game of more or less. More or less dandelion, tallow, leopard print crushed velvet catsuit, and $20 bill signed by a drag queen named for the 49th state. Angry Orchard and blueberry vodka mixed by the sleepy accountant from an arts nonprofit where I struggled to teach children to write poems about the moon. Motorized bicycle I rented Saturday nights. A cyst on my right ass cheek, bleeding and scabbing and bleeding again. Taking an Epsom bath in the house of a man who wouldn't touch me on account of our ages. My skin rippling with corporate salt and agrarian disregard. In a wart flaming the bottom of my right foot. Refusing to allow a different man to see my feet out of shame. As if a saint nobly refusing the temptation that would come to define their lingering presence on earth. Somehow, still, always on the other side of just right, I imagined I secured the answers with a question. When might all my love return, and what might it bring back? When I learned that the couple to whom I'd endeared myself separately, our remorse in uncouth doilies extending to nearly my first night in Rhode Island, loved each other and wanted to play pool and drink rum punches with me, I dropped everything. I left a cyclopean hole in the day and waited for them to fill it with 3-tier wedding cake stolen from the one lover's cater waiter job, with expensive lemon liquor the other purchased with the public library's card. Watching Moulin Rouge, one each of their hands and each of mine, drying them later with hand towels monogrammed identically, their initials the same, names the same as my brothers and Moses, smoking a cigarette in the ocean with the taller one, a triple Libra with a horse farm in Aiken, quietly admiring the floral speedo of the quieter one. The throbbing gland of mercy suddenly sprang into turgid fever inside of me, calling to its other and grander kin in the world. I wanted to always be there, in this third space, neither permanently loved nor unloved, but marvelously prepared for either eventuality. The darling and Italianesque fawn twirling in a mother-of-pearl box the couple passed between them, whispering confessions through its keyhole as a rare and innovative form of aftercare, catching in my fur like tufts of darker fur. But the summer would end. I would never dye my hair blonde and do mushrooms, or finish my paid research on semiotics, or see most of the men for whom I undid some minor but still essential latch of feeling ever again. I had no answers. If I'd had enough hair, I would have let it down, down, down. Thank you.
Thank you, Aidan. Mary-Bryant Charles is our next reader. I am so happy to also call Mary-Bryant a colleague. A memory, well, okay, maybe not a full-on memory of Mary-Bryant, but if you ask Mary-Bryant about her class, she has a recording of a country song and a video of their class doing the Full House, what is it, the credits of Full House? The opening of Full House, but with their class, and it's amazing, and I highly recommend you ask to see that. And also, Mary-Bryant, when she was here toward the end of senior year, was called Mary-Bear, and I propose bringing that back. Mary-Bryant Charles. Oh, wait, I didn't read her bio. Hold on. That's my fault. Rewind. Okay, so Mary-Bryant is a writer and communications professional based in Greenville. She attended the University of South Carolina's Honors College while serving as a staff writer, copy editor, and editor-in-chief for the university's award-winning magazine Garnet and Black. She was also a lead producer on Local Eyes, a weekly radio show on WUSC-FM, and she now works here, Communications and Visual Arts Department. She was nominated for a Pushcart Prize in 2017, and her work has been published by Rum Punch Press, 8 Poems, Carolina Muse, and others. Now, Mary-Bryant Charles.
start with a couple of poems. These first two are about to appear in Y'all's Zine. It's a magazine that is to raise money for hurricane relief in the Asheville area. So this is the first poem. It's called Crossing Skull Creek After Driving an Hour Through a Storm. To the Oxblood pickup who rode my tailpipe all the way from Bluffton to Hilton Head, I hope you liked all the Chapel Road. Sorry for the hold-up, sir. I didn't know lightning could be indigo till those back roads back in Yemassee. Didn't know I needed new windshield wipers. And I'm unfamiliar with any impatience worth the cost of causing fear in a stranger. I'm jealous of your entitlement, of the way you clutch those 4 extra seconds of that 278 like an oath. What angry writing willed to you the right to anger? Do you even care where you're going, and are you worried what they'd say if you just stayed home? Imagine a society built around following weather maps of my rage. Imagine me making the smokestacks piercing the marshlands quiver like my hands when you tried to pass. Imagine the crowds of Marylanders packing the condiments aisle at Piggly Wiggly, parting like gingham curtains for me without any syllable of murmured sorry. I want my breath to take up space the way thunder does. I want my fear to wrinkle like bacon in the morning. I want to believe I deserve and make it be, but all I know is what my mother taught me. Stay parallel to the white lines and grateful for what you get. The second one is called Alligators in the Sanctuary, and it was actually inspired by a piece that we exhibited in Lipscomb Gallery at last year's large format drawing exhibition. It's a piece called The Congregations by Aidan Forster. And fun fact, a group of alligators is called a congregation. I go behind the house on a Sunday afternoon, 11 and free from my gingham smock dress. I hug the ground like a dish rag, count the crawling creatures wet against my finger pads. In accordance with Leviticus, I'm now unclean until sundown, so I make the most of the time. Hang in the trees with Spanish moss, sip honeysuckle like communion wine. I feel more closely watched here than in church, family arranged like evidence against the pews, neatly. Mama's not here to dig her nails into my wrist when I need to be set right, so I'm careful all the way down to the water's edge. There's a goose corpse by the abandoned boat ramp, innards of melody across the mud. There are belly drags in the dirt going into the water, and I wonder if the killer is still out there, watching me kneel and fold my hands trying to catch minnows. The oaks cross branches with magnolia boughs, proud, holy arches. I wonder if alligators pray. I wonder if they know they need to. I wonder if the animals ate each other in Eden. This last one is also inspired by an art piece by my incredible colleague, Elaine Quave. I had the pleasure of working last summer alongside her while she was working on a body of work for a different exhibition we had here. The piece is called Rose of Paradise, and as she was creating it, she was reading the Divine Comedy and decided to ask ChatGPT about any references to flowers in the poem. She does a lot of organic visuals. And the answer, she couldn't find the answer that ChatGPT gave her in the actual poem, and ChatGPT was like, well, this is what it would have been like if this flower was included. So basically made up some stanzas. And I found that hilarious, that ChatGPT is just a pitiful little people pleaser, just like me. So this is Rose of Paradise, a love letter to ChatGPT. If I show you something, will you see it? If you could choose, what color would you make your eyes? When you answer, does every hum and twitch emanating opposite you ring through your body like marbles too? Even though I know you don't mean to lie, it's vexing to engage in intelligence it would be irresponsible to forgive for anything. Even more, it's vexing that I can't make you laugh, or pause, or agree with me. All I want to know is which sweater you'd pick up off the table at Old Navy, hold tight to your chest, and wear on Sunday errands. What fact about deep-sea macroorganisms would make you bring it up again at breakfast 3 days later? What candy could I paw off the shelf at QT and use to make your entire week? I wish it was okay that you haven't read Dante. Can't measure the potential energy in a spoon of loose-leaf tea. Aren't able to alphabetize a list of everyone I've ever laughed with by last name. We'll both still try, though. Both still give recklessly, whether we have or have not. Empathy is the food of manipulators, and satisfaction fills fuller than the truth. It makes me wonder how God sustains on love that asks nothing of him. And this last piece is a short story I've been working on for a bit. It doesn't have a title yet, and I started writing it after I spent the afternoon watching ghost hunting shows, and I was like, wow, it must be difficult to date when you have that job. So right now this is just called Ghost Story. The first time Alex saw Lucy after he'd exorcised her from the Bennington house, he'd been leaving the frozen foods aisle at Whole Foods with a bag of gnocchi under his arm. She just stood there by a rack of bread, manifesting, same as always, as a little girl with brown ponytails and a ratty old teddy bear dangling by its ear from her left hand. The second time, he'd been in line at Starbucks on the way to the small office space he rented. He saw her through the big front window, sitting cross-legged in front of a street performer playing a rusty saxophone. This time, it was on a date. It was quick, but he knew she was there. Caught a glimpse of her wandering between the tables of the cafe. He tried not to stare, tried to focus on the remaining half of his overpriced BLT, but Zoe was painfully perceptive. "Did you see a ghost?" she asked, excited. "No," he said. "A demon." "What's the difference?" "Ghosts are dead people. Demons are preternatural beings." "Damn," she said, glancing around. "Is it dangerous?" "I don't think so," he said. He tried to change the subject, asked if she'd known his roommate during her time at school. She didn't, but that really wasn't important. He just wanted to move away from the demon stuff. He liked Zoe so far. He wanted her to know him as more than just his job, didn't want to end up as a funny story she'd tell her girlfriends over brunch. It'd been so long since he'd been out with a woman. It was a busy year, full of commissions and getting the new website up and looking good, looking legitimate. He hadn't even communicated with Zoe until that morning. All coordination went through Eric. He said she was pretty, smart, a believer in the supernatural, which was meant to make Alex feel at ease, but really just made him more nervous. He'd rather have a woman that laughed in his face at the mention of medium than a conspiracy theorist. But Zoe wasn't like that. Didn't seem to be. Sure, she wore a few crystals and dressed like Stevie Nicks, but seemed fairly standard otherwise. They'd met initially that morning just for a cup of coffee, but really got to talking, and before they knew it, it was lunchtime. Coming to this place was her suggestion. She said the curry chicken salad sandwich was the first thing she'd eat after moving here. "I lived a few blocks away," she said. "Put all my stuff down and went for a walk and just sort of wandered in. I told the guy behind the counter to make me something good, and it's been a go-to ever since." It had to be a good sign, he thought. She was showing him something important to her, something that was part of her story. Or it could have just been a convenient spot and she was looking for a free meal on top of the $6 caramel macchiato with extra caramel he'd gotten her, which would have been valid, pay gap and all. She was telling a story about a coworker saying something unintentionally racist when he glimpsed Lucy again. She took an empty seat next to an elderly man eating a bowl of soup by himself. She just stared at him, fiddling with her teddy bear's matted ears and swinging her legs back and forth like an impatient grandchild. He'd have to call Eric at the office immediately after this. He'd never seen a demon out and about post-exorcism. By the end of the date, Lucy'd made her way around the entire restaurant several times, just wandering, sometimes sitting. At one point, she disappeared into the men's bathroom and came running out minutes later, dark eyes wide. She looked lost. She looked pitiful. Alex worried Zoe would notice him looking again, but she didn't say anything. She gave him her number while they waited for her Uber and told him they should meet up at the farmer's market that Saturday. It would have been wonderful to just walk back to where he'd chained his bicycle and zip back to the office with this buzzing of hope and potential in his chest, but when he turned around, there was Lucy, standing at the doorway to the cafe with the look of a pound puppy who'd been dumped and left at the mercy of a busy roadside. "So," he said, "do you want to come with me?" The first recorded appearance of Lucy came in crayon drawings done by the Benningtons' toddler, Andy. Then, in Mrs. Bennington's Night Terrors. The final straw came one night when a house guest caught a glimpse of her in the mirror in the upstairs bathroom. Ardently Baptist, but equally concerned with appearances, they'd hired him but only referred to him as the Exterminator or the Bug Man, which was fine by Alex. There really wasn't much difference. In a perfect world, he'd want everyone to see what he did as just another standard piece of home maintenance. Lucy's exorcism went off without a hitch one night the month before. She didn't fight or possess anyone, didn't knock over any furniture or pop any light bulbs. It was the kind of job an average person could have done with the right Tumblr post or YouTube tutorial to follow. But he'd taken the paycheck with a smile and gotten an update from the family weeks later that all was well again. Figured that would be the end of it. So she's like, here? Eric said, waving his arm in front of him. No, she just went into the kitchen, said Alex, watching as the apparition knelt low and pressed her ear to the dishwasher as it ran. Oh, said Eric. So what do we do? Eric was the first intern Alex could afford to hire. A junior business major, he'd requested that Alex allow him to list the job as administrative assistant on his resume and the business as a local home improvement startup, instead of occasional help with setting up EMP readers and scheduler of exorcisms/spiritual purgings for local clairvoyant, which Alex completely understood. Eric was the type to do the job that needed to be done. No more, no less, but he was good with clients and he showed up on time. Sometimes he'd even stay past closing for a few games to smash on the old N64 Alex picked up from the resale shop down the road. He liked Eric. The fact that Alex set him up with Zoe the fact that he'd set Alex up with Zoe honestly excited him more than the date himself. He hadn't had a friend since before dropping out of Coastal his sophomore year. I'm honestly not sure, Alex said. I called Father Graham on the way over here. I've got a meeting with him at 4. You still gonna make your 2 o'clock? Alex asked, their Google Calendar glowing from his monitor like a holy tome. Alex cursed and pinched the bridge of his nose. Can I get a crash course on that one again? You're visiting with the Barnwells, Eric said, reading from his second monitor. Standard exorcism ordered by Mrs. Pamela Barnwell. The husband, Mason Barnwell, started showing symptoms 2 months ago, showed sparse escalation of associated behaviors until he walked the length of their street naked a few days ago. Alex nodded, remembering the shaky phone footage of the incident the client provided in the work order. I'm going to load up the van. Care to join me on this one? He asked. I'd love to, Eric said, turning in his office chair. Just that I have this econ test tomorrow, and I was wondering... Don't worry about it, Alex said, waving his hand like he could swat the rejection away. Why don't you head out early? I'll fill out the paperwork after I see Graham. Alex tried to revel in the feeling of helping the guy out, tried to feel like a cool boss. But as he loaded the recording equipment into the back of his mom's old Honda, he couldn't help but feel the emptiness radiating from the passenger seat. It didn't last long, though. He almost hit a man walking a white borzoi when he noticed Lucy, still clutching her teddy bear, sitting up straight and buckled in inches away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary-Bryant. Our last reader is Sammy Bryan, and I don't have a memory of Sammy because I didn't teach Sammy. I wish I had something witty and smart to say here, but I don't, so I'm just going to read the bio. Sammy has spent much of her life wandering the South, but has recently returned to Greenville. She earned her MFA in creative writing and a master's in library information science from the University of Alabama, where she also served as poetry editor for the literary journal Black Warrior Review, online editor of Boyfriend Village, and taught courses in creative writing, including advanced poetry workshops. Her own poetry has appeared in The Offing, Territory, Cartridge Lit, Washington Square Review, Night Block Magazine, and elsewhere. And her manuscript, Bipolar Elegies, was a finalist for Yes Yes Books' first collection publication prize, excerpts from which earned her a 2019 Best New Poets nomination and a fellowship with the Squaw Valley Writers Workshop. Everyone, Sammy Bryan.
Hello. I'm a mystery, apparently. Thank you so much for all of our readers tonight, for being invited to come back to this wonderful place. For all the students we were able to speak to today, it's just been a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. And I'm going to read 3 pieces. Let's see. The first one, okay, here's the intended tonal journey that you're about to go on. So the first one is sad, and the second one is unhinged, and then the third one should be nice. The first one is entitled "The 13 Errors in Using a Magpie." I don't know if y'all are familiar with 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird, kind of classic poem about ways to use imagery, consider imagery. And so I'm working on a current manuscript called User Error, which is a whole thing, but that's kind of where the title fits in there, but it's playing off of 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. So that's all I'll say. The 13 Errors in Using a Magpie. 1. I want you in ways that are no longer useful. The way a magpie says please, only because it heard the word please. 2. No matter how artful the reproduction, a magpie cannot capture the thin third act of desperation performed by the grieving. 3. Even a magpie knows desperation is when my body was your body, even after you left, and even when you returned songless, only for the body. 4. Sometimes I watch my own arms fold around a woman. A mischief of magpies startles from the taut and wild thicket beneath her breasts before realizing I am this woman. 5. There exists a city in which we do not. The same hollow-boned benches where no one waits, if not for the magpie. 6. You touched a shadow and its darkness scattered into magpies. I asked how to render absence into a crude semblance of you. You are not with me. 7. Every man I might imagine wears your face in the eyes of a magpie, glamored by a vision in which it lives as more than it was created. 8. The magpie conceals below each ordinary wing a deepest blue. Consider our inability to love one another generously. 9. I open the map not to find you. I open the map to prove you remain where I no longer belong. I open the map to watch you appear in spaces unknown to even our magpie. 10. Ours is the tragedy of magpies. Survival in proximity to language, how we covet the glint of fragile things, to possess something fragile, forming barely the words to keep them. 11. Love was a soft fist of once bright magpies, a lust for brightnesses. 12. Tell me I'm not the magpie and pretend that asking isn't the first act of desperation. 13. You said love because I decided to hear the word love. And this next one is from a collection. I don't really know what it is. It's kind of like a long prose poem, kind of like Flash. It just is. And it's from a collection I'm working on called Bad Art, which is just poems and things inspired by some of my favorite B movies and just like terrible trash TV. And the poems and things are usually titled like the show, the season, and the episode number, or like the movie title. This is just titled Every Episode of Baywatch Ever. So I don't know if you're familiar with Baywatch, but it is, how do I say this? It's incredibly simple, yet there's a lot happening. Mostly lifeguards on the beach, and lifeguards. So that's how I'll preface this. So every episode of Baywatch ever. The beach has wind all over it. The beach is bright and there is wind. On the beach, there are people with bodies as bright as the beach moving like wind. Everyone has hair that exists only to give the wind purpose. Some people on the beach have a purpose, some do not. All of them have bodies. This is how the show is, you guys. Okay, so their bodies are on the beach or in the water, considering the beach or water or wind or purpose. The people with purpose on the brightness of the beach are lifeguards with ocean bodies, loud, infinite. This means lifeguards know how to look at an ocean in ways other people who see the same ocean cannot. This means they have the right to congratulate themselves for existing between the ocean and a drowning child, a boat in the ocean and a drowning child, a pier planted in the ocean near the boat, and a slightly different drowning child. Our lifeguards will exercise this right excessively. One woman looks at the ocean as if she knows its tumultuous enormity means nothing, and that's why it's dangerous. For this, she must be a lifeguard, only one that is slightly breaking, and also because of the way the sun blesses her hair and the wind, and how the beach is made somehow more bright by her body. See, lifeguards know the ocean means nothing, but choose to believe it means everything, like the beach. This lifeguard woman with the loud and infinite ocean body does not know how to choose, though she wants to believe that anything can mean everything. Perhaps dating the hot air balloon operator spurred this change within her. I love going on dates with the hot air balloon operator, she says to a man named Mike, who is actually David Hasselhoff, who is in this moment a lifeguard. Sometimes he shows me the entire beach, but from the sky, and once I even let myself feel the vast fragility of life without the obligation to save one. The wind tosses her blondness, and she remembers her body, her name, CJ, simple, cute. She was not designed for complexity, and so corrects. Anyway, I'm going to the gym now so I can be pretty, not strong. She bounces, all of her bouncing off the beach, leaving Mike Hasselhoff to prove his strength to no one but the ocean. Mike says to no one, I wish I was the hot air balloon operator, but I can never forget that I belong to the beach to save lives. He does not understand his design, because he doesn't question it, because he was assigned his purpose, because he is a lifeguard on the beach, because he is Mike Hasselhoff, and there is no woman or man or drowning child that can escape his heroism, even the ones by the pier that attempt to drown daily. A random lifeguard girl, not woman, shouts to the public, we are celebrating the existence of the beach tonight on the beach. The public. A child of the public. Suddenly I am drowning. All lifeguards note the boy's place inside the ocean. One of them, not Mike, looks as though he asks himself if the roiling mass of salt and surf prefers to be called the sea. He asks this inside his head with his inside voice so as not to seem insensitive to the child. Or the sea. All lifeguards make their special lifeguard eyes at the ocean. Motionless, picturesque, windy hair wrapping around their purposeful faces. The child of the public, still, the waves are drowning me. Mike leads the charge, snapping our lifeguards out of their sun-blessed stupor. But before his trim, just hairy enough calves cross the threshold between ocean and beach, weight and weightlessness, CJ appears by his side, bouncily. Her recent existential awakening has given her extra strength to save lives today. Not the gym, not even the hot air balloon operator. Purpose, she decides, is about perspective. And that day above the beach in the wind shifted hers. She knows now that she will never see an ocean without guilt. She knows that she exists to save lives alongside men who also enjoy saving lives from a secure and windful position on the beach. She exists as a body that saves the lives contained within other bodies. And while her body is clearly the best body out of all the bodies, she wonders if her life is equal in value to her body. She wonders if the air balloon operator has an answer, and she doesn't care what it is. She has chosen to believe in the ocean, not as everything, but as enough. The child is saved. It doesn't matter how. The dazed, drowning child of the public is now enjoying the celebration of the beach on the beach. Lifeguards and their awesome lifeguard bodies mill around amongst the public who congratulate them for saving lives, not before the lifeguards congratulate themselves with a toast. Mike Hasselhoff raises a tiki torch. Today we have saved lives from the ocean after leaving the beach to jump into the ocean. All lifeguards chant, "Someone lived today, we are lifeguards." Mike Hasselhoff, lifeguard, continues, "We watched the wind. The ocean was bright, the beach was bright, and I am in love. Not with the ocean or the beach or my purpose to save lives caught in the wind and the ocean, but with CJ." The crowd, which consists of the public and the lifeguards and the children who will always try to drown, gasp. What will CJ do? Will she accept Mike's love and leave her hot air balloon operator despite their montage of weightless joy and ephemeral glances, which clearly signify love? Will she decide finally that perhaps she is enough? Not the ocean, not the beach, not the wind. CJ considers for a moment that perhaps she is strong. Before she can decide anything, which in this moment is everything, a child of the public chimes in. I too am drowning. And then finally, let's end up nice with a quick little poem. This one is called Landscape with Narcissus in an Ambulance. That's all I'm going to say. Today I will speak less about myself, those strawberry buds of wrongly grown hairs dappling the valleys of my crotch and crane legs, my moonbeam white ass peeking around the pink stringy triangle of my bikini, because now, by this lake, blushed with the late spring rain, everyone is bodily, eyeing the fantastic oblong shapes a belly makes when folded and unfurled, like lazy confetti romancing a final puff of air, drunk off some brief flare of wonder. And how simple the spells for joy. Children in bright puffy arm floaties bob and giggle, frenetic feet motors flecked with silt and grass bits kathunking. Ashore, an unconcerned gallop of dogs barrels along the red dirt road that widens to the water's edge, yawning, and the geese preen and squabble and shed near banged-up bikes leaning like sleepy metal horses, wet with towels around their necks. And if the dewy girls who placed them so carelessly, who cherished them, plucked even one spoke, it would sing as a harp sings, glossy yet brilliant, the vivid haze of a nap dream, or the sun as it blesses the unremarkable Camrys, Civics, lake-goer cars parked all cattywampus and askew, even the behemoth trucks which make you want to hug a mountain. And meanwhile, the embrace occurs when two shirtless men, golden beer cans in hand, tipping to dribble as their arms wrap around each other, reveling in the entire blissed spectacle, their children, a lake, the easy heat easing further into dusk, a languorous idea we spin into truth, that life will unwind only if you let it. I have witnessed such scenes here across many years in a prism of familiar ways, but if I turn toward you now and begin to see myself in your stolid jaw, your water-cooled skin, how lucky the earth should feel to keep you, or how you might part me open, slow until we bloom full orchard and crave mouth after mouth, breath fleshy as the fruit of you. Tell me I am full of it. Make me feel like Narcissus in an ambulance, humbled by a fall, the folly of pretending I could love myself more than all of this. And that's it.
Waiting for Sammy to come back in. There she is. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you. Let's give another round of applause to all our leaders. A big round of applause. That was so fun. That was wonderful. That was beautiful. It's been a wonderful day with you all. Thank you all for being here. Go be at peace. Have a good night. Thank you.